Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. How was the weekend, Bruce?
It was good, Eric. How about yours?
I was good. Had two events to
Yeah.
wrap up the spring season, one for Colorado Therapeutic Riding Center, the other one for Temple Sinai, and now the summer has officially hit, at least for me, and probably for most in the nonprofit world. And in the sports world, we just really wait till the Broncos start training camp. Because
you're absolutely right. And it looks like before we get done with this week, we're going to kind of get an early blast of summer with 87, 88 degrees.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting. We've kind of flown under the weather radar, haven't we? We've had a really mild type of spring. We forget that it's the 9th day of June.
Right.
So I guess we should expect some warming up, but anyway, here we go. Well, congratulations on your weekend. I know that was something that you worked hard on and put a lot of time, effort, and emotion into. So congratulations.
Some big potential news coming out of Houston, potentially, and I say potentially in quotes, affecting the Broncos. Nick Chubb is expected to sign with the Texans. The Broncos have not brought in Nick Chubb. They need a veteran running back in that room. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. J.K. Dobbins appears to be their first choice, but he did leave without a contract. I think Nick Chubb might have been on the radar. I have no proof that he was, but it would seem obvious to me. You consider a guy like Nick Chubb, but now it looks like he's going to be off the market.
Yeah, I mean, if the Broncos are serious about adding veteran experience and basically quoting Sean Payton here, another really good football player that can help them win. The veteran presence and options out there are dwindling before our very eyes, but this is what you expect. You get closer to training camp, you know, the Nick Chubbs and the J.K. Dobbins and the Von Millers and the Dalton Reisners, guys that we know are good football players, are guys basically without a job. So that's that. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but Nick Chubb certainly would have been an intriguing possibility. No question about that.
I want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch and also in the DTC. Went there on Friday for lunch. I had to start with the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. I mean, I looked at all the
you love the Philly steak egg rolls. Those are your go-to at the Sportsbook Bar and Grill.
Well, I think they are for most people. Once you have them, you want to just keep eating them. But usually I get they have like 12 burgers on the menu. Usually I get the one with fig jam and gorgonzola and a little bit of arugula. I actually changed it up, did the blackened chicken sandwich, which was absolutely fantastic. Fries are great. Tots are great. A great place to watch sports, NBA finals. You can watch the Stanley Cup final there as well. It's going to be great for football season, but they also show a lot of soccer. They're a big soccer bar, or as they say, American football, you know, over where you're going to be going soon enough over in Europe.
Sure. Right.
And also show a lot of rugby, UFC fights. Go check them out. Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now for the lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Mandatory minicamp tomorrow with that. NFL.com's Mark Ross wrote an article titled 10 Rookies in the Best Situations to Succeed in Year One and Beyond. Abdul Carter from the Giants, rookie, top guy, number one on that list. Omari and Hampton, a guy the Broncos had a chance at. He checked in at number 2. Number 3, the guy the Broncos did take, Jahdae Barron. This is what Ross wrote. The Broncos reinforced a strength in the draft, selecting Barron to pair with Pat Surtain. The rookie will be able to play multiple positions in Vance Joseph's scheme, having lined up outside, in the slot, in the box as a dime linebacker, Texas. His skill set will be maximized in a division where Denver has to face Mahomes and Herbert twice. So with that, we know Surtain is Surtain. Riley Moss's trajectory is going up. Barron is really the joker on defense, and he has shown in college he can play all those positions. Could this be the best secondary in football for many years to come? And dare I say, another no-fly zone?
Well, it's fun to even ask the question and to ponder the answer, because the funny thing is that sometimes when you ask questions like that, people start looking at you like, what in the hell are you talking about? And maybe rolling their eyes or shaking their head. But all of a sudden now you see a very real possibility for the prowess of this backside. Haven't even talked about the safety positions. Hufanga, I think, we've only seen him for 2 days. He's going to be a tremendous addition to the backside and the deep side at safety as well. But to your point, from an ability and a standpoint of being able to cover, you've got 4 or 5 guys you can make the argument that can cover pretty much anywhere on the field. You've got, by all acclamation, the best defensive player in the NFL or in the AFC right now in Pat Surtain. You've got outstanding guys that I think Riley Moss is only going to get better. He's on an upward trajectory. Eric, we talked about this last week, and I'll ask you, does it almost feel like was the pick of Jahdae Barron a pick of need, or a pick that they just felt like, you know what, we'll take this guy and go over the top? It'll be a luxury pick, for lack of a better term. You used that term last week. And I'm wondering if the Broncos are feeling now with the roster that they are to that point, or was this guy just so damned good and they couldn't take their eyes off him looking at film, and they had him graded so high, top 13, 12 maybe on their board, that at 20 when he was available, they absolutely had to take him.
Best player available.
Right.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And clearly they liked Harvey enough to wait
Yes.
till the second round. They knew they were not going to get Travion Henderson.
Right.
They passed on Omari and Hampton. So I think it was a combination of they really, really liked Barron a lot, but they also probably felt they could get Harvey in the second round.
Yeah, agreed.
If someone like Harvey was not going to be – and let's say Harvey didn't come out in the draft. I don't know if they make this pick.
Yeah.
Unless you can tell me another running back they were really high on. I don't know. But to have a guy like him, a Swiss Army knife, who is really good wherever you throw him, it is a luxury. But my goodness, you can argue for this pick all day when you are facing Mahomes twice, Herbert twice.
Does the discussion on that pick grow more aggressive after we see what RJ Harvey turns into as a running back?
Well, I think that Pat Surtain, who is tied to Justin Fields, you can make the case Barron and Harvey are going to be tied to Omari and Hampton.
Yeah, I think you can.
If Omari and Hampton turns into Saquon Barkley, well, there are going to be a lot of people questioning Sean Payton. Right now, Sean Payton and George Payton get the benefit of the doubt for almost anything that they do in the draft. If Barron turns into not necessarily Pat Surtain, but a top 10 cornerback in this league for many, many years to come, it's going to be hard to argue he wasn't the right pick. But also remember, let's look at the running back position. How many years do running backs really last? I mean, think of it for a second. Nick Chubb is not an old guy.
No.
J. Dobbins is not an old guy. I mean, you better use it before you lose it at the running back position. Where at quarterback, these guys can last 10 plus years.
Yeah, well said. And that is exactly right. And I think that there is and I don't want to be flippant about this, but I think that there is a dime a dozen kind of mentality as it relates to running backs in the NFL. Right. Now, you've got guys out there. You've got the Genties and the Saquon Barkleys. There are guys out there that you think are going to be on a different level than most of these players. But I think for a program and a franchise like the Broncos, and the way that Sean Payton is designing the offense, he's looking for fit in the offense. He's looking for the guy, and all coaches look to this to a certain degree, but Payton is in particular looking for certain skill sets, certain football IQ, certain good locker room guys. I mean, he has a lot of boxes that he needs to check, but he's got to check it with Harvey. More is riding on R.J. Harvey than anyone else that was taken in this draft, arguably more than anyone else that was even acquired in free agency or required. I mean, you could make the argument that they are hanging on the result of R.J. Harvey as much as any of the newcomers. And remember, only 14% of this roster has overturned. Right. So in that 14 are Hufanga and Greenlaw and Evan Ingram, not to mention all of the new draft picks and things of that nature. Who's the guy that really has to hit amongst all those? You can make the argument on Evan Ingram, and I would be fine with that. But R.J. Harvey is right there as well. This is a guy they've got to hit on.
Let's have a no-fly zone discussion.
Okay.
And it really depends on how you want to approach it. Are we talking about the Broncos 5 from the Super Bowl year versus the Broncos 5 today? Are we doing it position by position? Who has the better free safety? Who has the better strong safety? Who has the better number one cornerback? You could also look at it as, look at the three cornerbacks. Do you go two outside guys versus their two outside guys, slot guy versus the other slot guy? It depends on how you really want to approach it, because you could really come up with different answers depending on your approach. So with that, let's start with the two best corners, the best corner from each team. Talib or Surtain? Let's play the game. Who are you taking?
Surtain. And I love Talib. And I love Aqib Talib. Love him. But I think Surtain is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Correct. Champ Bailey, I don't believe, ever won Defensive Player of the Year.
No.
There you go.
But
Surtain might go down as the greatest Broncos corner to ever play the game.
Right.
This is where it's not a knock on Aqib Talib, clearly.
Oh, no, not at all.
Hall of Fame credentials.
Right.
Now, when you go to the next question, are we going to say Chris Harris or Jahdae Barron if Barron plays in the slot? Or do you believe Barron is going to be the second best cornerback on the team no matter where he plays, and you put him up against Bradley Roby, who played on the outside?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like the comp to Chris Harris because of Chris's versatility.
Correct.
He could do so much in so many different places, and I think that's what Vance Joseph is counting on for Jahdae Barron, a guy that you can use in maybe even in more places than Chris was used. And Chris was as versatile a corner as certainly we've been around. There's no question about it. I'm not ready to give Jahdae Barron his flowers yet.
No.
But I'm ready to go to the Garden and pick him. I mean, I'm ready.
Who are we? Are we comping Barron against Chris Harris, or are we comping Barron against Bradley Roby?
Well, I think right now I would take – this sounds ridiculous. I think I would probably lean on Barron and his future over Bradley Roby.
Yes.
That's where I am.
And that's where things potentially can tilt depending on how we are approaching it. Chris Harris was an all-decade team guy.
Yeah, all-decade.
Who may not get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because he is not as accomplished as guys who have more Pro Bowls, more, all-pro teams, things like that. But let's go Barron and Harris.
Okay.
I think you have to. because they basically play the same position all over the place, potentially at a high level for Barron. We certainly know for Chris Harris. Then Riley Moss and Roby. Roby was a nice player. Never an all-pro. Never a Pro Bowler. Good player. They thought so
Riley
much.
Moss is a better player right now than
They
Bradley
thought so
Roby
much
was.
of Bradley Roby, they let him walk after his
Right.
rookie contract.
Yeah.
Now you go to the safety position. Darian Stewart wins because he was the better free safety. You have to hand that one to him.
Yeah.
Then is it Hufanga or TJ Ward?
Well, we know the value that TJ Ward had, not just as a football player, but as a guy that really helped to galvanize that team. I mean, I got in on the back end. You had the advantage of seeing that group in that locker room for, arguably the 2 best years of their time together.
This is our tie-breaking vote, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the no-fly zone, they get Chris Harris, right?
Yep.
And they also get Darian Stewart.
Yeah.
This year's team gets Pat Surtain, and they also get Riley Moss.
Mm-hmm.
And again, people would say there's no way that Riley Moss is better than Bradley Roby. I think Riley Moss has high enough upside
Yes.
that when it's all said and done, barring injury, he will be as good as, if not better than, Bradley Roby.
Yes. And
so TJ Ward or Hufanga, that's where.
Well, it would be hard for me to. TJ Ward was such a key player in that group.
Yeah.
And the headlines always go to Aqib, Talib, because he was just such an incredible personality. Chris was an outspoken personality, and they backed it up with the way that they played.
Right.
But man, when you look at those two guys and the reverence that they had for Ward in the way that he was as a leader of that group, a quiet, more follow me by example, and do as I say, but not as I, what is it? Do as I do, not as I say, whatever.
Do as I say, not do as I do.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever I'm trying to say there. I'll get it. Sorry, Mom. I missed that one.
It's all right.
But yeah, it would be hard for me to say that the safety position in the no-fly zone probably is a little ahead of where the safety position is now, even though I think I thought they got really good safety play last year. I think they're going to get better safety play this year. You and I both like Hufanga. He's a physical presence back there that is going to be different in that position than they've had for the last few years. And you can make the argument that the depth at corner is better than what they had in the no-fly zone. We haven't talked about McMillan. We haven't talked about Abrams Drain.
Right.
I mean, they do have some other guys there too that have some potential versatility that can make them unique. They are deep and they are talented. I would say this, in any conversation that comes up with the Broncos about what is their best room, I think you can start with the corners and the safeties. You'd get a pushback from the offensive line. Maybe the defensive line wants to be heard from on this whole thing.
Right.
It's a good argument to have because all of a sudden you've got some options.
Getting back to and putting a bow on what we were talking about, does this secondary have a chance just all by itself in a vacuum be as good as the one that won the Super Bowl? We are projecting out with Riley Moss. That's why we gave him the nod.
And Jahdae Barron.
Well, Jahdae Barron, you got to really, 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 really project out.
Yes, you
because
really
we're
do.
Comping him against Chris Harris.
Yeah.
He's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. For Riley Moss, he needs to go down the driveway.
Right.
To catch Bradley Roby.
Mm-hmm.
For Barron, he needs to go down a runway at an airport to catch Chris Harris. But with that, let's finish up with TJ Ward briefly. TJ Ward's best years were in Cleveland. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler, fierce tackler, seen as dirty. I wouldn't say after covering him, getting to know him, he was a dirty player. He was a second-team All-Pro with the Cleveland Browns. So when you look at Hufanga, he is a first-team All-Pro.
Yeah.
So are we going to project on Hufanga if he stays healthy? If he stays healthy, he'll be a better player more important player than TJ Ward. When I say important, I don't mean in terms of, being the straw that stirs the drink in the no-fly zone. The straw that stirred the drink was Aqib Talib.
Sure he was. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Okay. And TJ Ward was a part of it. But listening to Hufanga, knowing what I know about him, playing with the San Francisco 49ers, I think that Hufanga would likely finish, in theory, with a better career, although that's really totally subjective, would finish as the better player. Who would you rather have on your team?
I think
not a knock on TJ.
There's demonstrated ability with Hufanga, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's demonstrated ability with Riley Moss. That's a good thing. We think, and there is nothing that holds me back on Jahdae Barron. Nothing that holds me back on him, other than we haven't even seen him in pads as a pro yet. So here is my deal. I think it's great that we can have the conversation without blushing. I think it's great that we can have the conversation without saying, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. I give respect to where it is due with the no-fly zone.
Yep.
They are the gold standard.
Yes. That
is still there as a shiny gold carrot at the end of the stick for this group to aspire to. This group, unless and maybe this is heretofore, maybe we will see this. The dog quotient in the no-fly zone was high. You had bad men playing in that defensive secondary
with bad intentions.
With bad intentions, and every week they made their intentions known. They proved it. They were a part of it, and they will always have that. But boy, I'll tell you what, it's a great thing for it. How good would it be 8 games into this season for us to be talking about this in very much the same fashion, breathlessly wondering how good this secondary can continue to be. But I'll tell you what, Eric, and you talked about it earlier just briefly, this is the type of secondary you have to have in this division to make the kind of steps forward that the Broncos want to make.
Coming up after the break, Nikola Jokic said after the Nuggets got knocked out of the playoffs, this roster isn't good enough to win a title. Did Aaron Gordon contradict Jokic over the weekend? That's next.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of Spider Cruisers or over $15,000 in cash the weekend of July 18th, just in time for the Sturgis Bike Rally in South Dakota. That's right, your choice. Cruisers or $15,000 in cash. Get finalist entries every 45 minutes from 10 a.m. to midnight during their daily cash drawing with a locked-up jackpot of $100 or more. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. And welcome back. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Nola Jane in the heart of Lodo. No one does Cajun cuisine better than Nola Jane. Go see why their award-winning menu is the best in town.
After the Nuggets lost Game 7 to OKC, Nikola Jokic said the team is not capable of winning a championship as it's currently constructed. Most agreed with that statement. On Friday, though, Aaron Gordon posted on Instagram, quote, "See the vision, see it through." Christian Brown responded to Gordon's statement by saying, "I do this shit for y'all." Do you think that Jokic and Gordon's comments contradict each other?
No, not necessarily. Aaron Gordon's comment has the advantage of time having gone by, so there's some perspective there. Nikola Jokic made what I thought was a very true statement in the heat of the moment. Maybe his attitude would be different now. I don't know. I will say this, Eric. It's interesting to me watching the way that these NBA playoffs have played out, that the Nuggets had Oklahoma City in a Game 7. I'm watching Oklahoma City last night in that 19-2 run late in the second quarter that they just basically kicked it to another gear. And Indiana did a nice job to finish the half strong, so I give them credit where it's due, but the damage had really already been done.
Right.
And I sit and I think to myself, okay, now how in the hell did the Nuggets get to a Game 7? Now, it wasn't a Game 7 where you really thought the Nuggets had a chance to win it. You and I didn't think so. They were going to Oklahoma City. Their chances to win that series were in Games 4 and 5 when they had late leads and they couldn't close. But does it make you at all, and I'm asking you this question, does it make you at all think, well, okay, maybe the Nuggets are a little closer than we tend to give them credit?
I think Josh Kroenke feels that way.
Yeah.
When you look at what happened last year, they should have beaten Minnesota.
Yes.
They should have advanced to the Western Conference Finals. Should have, would have, could have. Bottom line is they didn't. The way I look at Aaron Gordon's statement, and maybe I'm wrong on this, I haven't talked to him about it, I think he's talking about running back the starting lineup.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not so sure he's talking about not fortifying the bench. But the bottom line about this roster is this. This is on David Adelman to get the potential out of Strother, Pickett, Watson, so on and so forth. Adelman said it very well during his introductory press conference. Come in shape, and that way we can extend our bench to start the season. And guys will get playing time. And guys will find out if they are really good basketball players as bench guys, as starters potentially one day or just not at all. Michael Malone was the wrong guy to do that. Great coach, wrong guy to execute that plan. Adelman, I think there's a better chance of him doing that, although you wouldn't know it by watching the playoffs because he really didn't play his bench guys too much. But the leverage minutes were so high, you really couldn't take that risk in the playoffs.
Yeah, Strother had that one really nice game where he just flashed and couldn't replicate it. You know, the challenge that he put forth at his press conference that should resonate with every one of those young players is there is an opportunity here. Now, look, I don't know why that message hadn't been imparted aggressively previously, but you've got guys now that are going into their third year as pros, and you just mentioned them. Deron Holmes is going into his second year, but really his first year, and he's a guy that's very intriguing. That remains to be seen. But my God, if you are Tyson and Pickett and Strother, aren't you just working at this point 20 hours a day to get yourself into a position to get minutes? Here's a guy saying, look, the guys that help us are the guys that are going to play. Now maybe the problem is they just don't have any more to give. But that's not my problem. That's David Adelman's problem. He's got to figure that out. Does he reach them on a level that these guys can come in ready to go, very first day, gamed and proved, done the things necessary that, yes, they can work with their individual people that all these guys do, their individual gurus and coaches and stuff, but can they do what is necessary for what David Adelman is laying out that you have to do as a member of the Denver Nuggets to make this team better? It may be individual development, but what are you doing as a teammate to make this team better? Can Julian Strother somehow figure out a way to be a more engaged and focused defender? Not where all of a sudden he's Caruso,
Right.
But he can get in front of a guy. He can stop a guy every now and then. He can rotate. He can help. He can do things defensively that makes this team a better team, and the fall off not so abrupt when the second team comes in. These are the questions. But the question is it this big of a problem or is it this big of a problem? And can they solve it? It's the billion-dollar question for the Denver Nuggets.
I think most Nuggets fans would say, if you can trade MPJ, just trade him, right?
Yeah,
I don't
think
know.
Most would. Yeah.
I don't know if guys in that locker room would say that about him. And the reason is this: they like him so much.
Yeah, they do.
He is such a likable guy, and more importantly, but it's bigger than that, they have seen how hard this guy has worked with the injuries that he still deals with his back and with his foot. I'm not going to go as far to call Michael Porter Jr. a warrior for playing with a bad shoulder, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
He's probably played more games than anyone in the starting five over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's the guy with chronic back and foot problems.
Yeah, he's tough as nails. No one will get me to back down on that. And you're right. And the point that you bring up, you got to be careful about it, because when you're talking about chemistry in that first five, you better be careful about how you mix that brew.
Let me throw one more thing into the mix, because you and I talked about it with a different sport in the last segment. I don't think the Nuggets players, specifically the guys in the starting five, are going to be openly pissed off if Michael Porter Jr. gets traded. Like the players in the no-fly zone were openly pissed off that TJ Ward, they dumped him.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing in terms of venom coming from one group as opposed to the other group.
Yeah.
But I think both groups, maybe a little bit more with the no-fly zone, wanted TJ Ward to remain on the team.
Yeah.
I think Gordon wants MPJ on this team. I think Christian Braun wants him on this team. And the funny thing is they might get what they wish for, because unfortunately, despite all the games that he has played, he is still untradeable. The best way to trade him is next year, unfortunately, when he has 1 year left on his deal.
It all boils down to, and we don't even know who's going to be running this team from a general manager standpoint. That's another part of the equation that we've yet to understand or to be enlightened by.
Bruce, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem after the GM, head coach, toxic mix between Booth and Malone? Are the Nuggets with the best player in the world, I don't want to call it a championship roster, but certainly a playoff roster that has potential? If they hire a GM from within the organization, are people whispering or maybe whispering out loud at a higher decibel level, we're looking at the Rockies again?
Yeah, well, they got a ways to fall to get to the Rockies, but I get you on similar styles and
I'm just
format.
talking about,
yeah, I hear you.
Listen,
Yep.
Calvin Booth was promoted from within too.
Yeah, sure.
Don't forget.
Yeah, he was, no question. Yeah, I don't know if Ben Tanzer is the guy. I know he has an awful lot of respect. Guys like him. That's not what we're talking about here. We're looking for the guy that is the right fit for the job. That's up to Josh Kroenke, and we'll see what he ends up doing. There better be work going on right now, and I have every confidence that there is work going on right now, and that David Adelman will be very aggressive in pushing his agenda for these guys in the off season, and I think it all boils down to, do they feel like they've got a long way to go, or do they feel like they've got a short way to get there? And I will be interested to see by what they do and who they are involved with, if they're involved with anyone from the outside at all. I'll be interested to see it, because the answer to that question is coming. How much faith do they really have beyond lip service? And I'm not alleging anything here about these young players. You got to say that about these young players, don't you, Eric? You're not going to improve in free agency. You're probably not going to improve in trades. I mean, if you're going to go to the second apron, well, fine. If you're not, one of these guys, these young players, has got to hit, and not only hit, has got to hit big.
This is the most important season in Nuggets history outside of winning the championship.
Sure.
David Adelman is going to try and find a way to get those young guys in there if they deserve to play. And to his point, they're going to decide whether they play or not. If Strother is spending all summer in the gym, Peyton Watson is spending all summer in the gym, I can go down the line. If these guys deserve playing time, I believe that they will get it.
Yeah.
With Michael Malone, even if some of those guys deserve playing time, I don't think that they were going to get it. But we're going to find out, are these young guys good enough to potentially be starters, be solid role players, or not? That's what we're going to find out, because I'll tell you this, after this upcoming offseason, after next season, MPJ has 1 year left. This is when they might break it all up.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
After this upcoming season, at least the bench, let's see what happens with MPJ.
You know, you talk about Peyton Watson. If I were Peyton Watson, I'd figure out some way to be joined at the hip with Aaron Gordon. Go to his warehouse, close the doors, and go to work. Aaron Gordon is the great example, and he's a much better player than Peyton Watson. So I'm not comparing apples to apples, but he is a great example of a guy with a skill set that in the middle of his career, he changed and improved the skill set. That's remarkable.
He reinvented himself.
He did.
He reinvented himself from being a guy who is seen by others as the focal point of the offense in Orlando to coming to Denver, feeling more comfortable not being the focal point, wanting to be a great team player, a high-level role player, and he's certainly more than that anyway, and then became an offensive threat beyond the three-point stripe.
Right.
He is a great guy who learned how to reinvent himself. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible day you can.